I volunteer sometimes in a palliative hospital. Hindi ako nurse, hindi rin ako doktor. Nandun ako para maging extra presence, lalo na kapag may mga oras na walang kasama ang pasyente or pagpagod na ang pamilya at kailangan nilang umuwi saglit. Simple lang yung role ko. I sit, I listen, I offer water, I call staff if needed. Akala ko dati madali lang maging nandoon. Pero ibang klase pala yung presence kapag may taong malapit ng mamatay. Yung kwarto niya, maliit lang, malinis, tahimik, may ilaw na hindi masyadong maliwanag. Noong una ko siyang nakita, nakapikit siya, payat. Yung balat niya parang manipis na papel. Yung kamay niya, may veins na kitang-kita. Hindi siya yung typical na dramatic na makikita mo sa TV. Walang sigawan, walang biglaang speeches, mostly slow breathing at yung maliit na rise and fall ng dibdib niya na parang alon. His name, I'll call him Tatay Vic. Hindi ko sasabihin yung full name, hindi ko kailangan. Older siya, late 70s siguro. Ang sabi sa chart na narinig ko lang in passing, end-stage illness, comfort focus care. May isang photo sa side ng bed niya. Old photo, medyo faded, nakalagay sa simpleng frame. Babae na bata pa, maybe in her teens in the picture, nakangiti. Nung una, hindi ko tinanong, feeling ko hindi ko karapatan. Pero yung photo, parang may sariling boses. Parang sinasabing may story dito. That first shift, umupo lang ako sa upuan sa tabi, tahimik. I was told he didn't have visitors recently, may attempts daw to reach family, pero uncertain. Minsan ganun. Minsan may pamilya pero complicated. Minsan wala. Minsan may mga taong umiikot sa buhay nila pero pag dumating na yung dulo, biglang tahimik. After a while, he opened his eyes. Not wide, just enough to show he was present. Tumingin siya sa akin parang sinusukat kung sino ako. Hindi siya scared, hindi rin siya curious in an excited way. More like, ikaw na naman ang tao sa kwarto ko ngayon. Sino ka? Mahina niyang tanong, parang buhangin yung boses. Volunteer po ako dito, sabi ko. Nandito lang ako para may kasama kayo. Kasama? He repeated. Okay. Tahimik ulit. The quiet wasn't awkward. Sa mga sumunod na araw, napunta ulit ako sa kanya. Hindi palagi, pero madalas. I learned his rhythm. May oras na medyo gising siya, may oras na half asleep. Minsan maayos siyang sumagot, minsan isang tango lang. Minsan, ang usapan namin, maliit lang. Then one afternoon, habang nag-aayos ako ng upuan, bigla siyang nagsalita na parang may lumabas na memory na hindi niya napigilan. Seaman ako dati, sabi niya. Oh, sagot ko. Sa barko po, he nodded. Matagal, maraming bansa, maraming dagat. Tahimik ang dagat pag gabi. I found myself listening. Hindi lang patient talking. Parang may mga huling bagay siyang gustong ilagay sa mundo kahit sa isang stranger lang. Kaya sinagot ko siya ng mahinahon. Ano po yung pinakamalakas na naaalala ninyo sa dagat? He smiled, very small. Yung hangin, yung amoy, yung pakiramdam na maliit ka, pero buhay ka. That line stayed with me, small but alive. Later, he glanced at the photo. Hindi niya kinuha, hindi niya hinawakan, tiningnan lang niya. Parang may tinatanong siya sa sarili. Anak po, he said. Simple. Sabi ko, kumusta po siya? Hindi siya sumagot agad. He swallowed and I saw how effortful it was. Hindi ko alam. I didn't push. I just said, mukhang masaya po siya sa picture. He nodded. Masaya siya noon. Noon, not now. Every time I entered, I asked permission. Tatay, okay lang po ba umupo? Kahit hindi siya sumasagot, I did it. It felt respectful. It felt like the last thing you can give someone, the sense that they still get a choice. One evening, medyo restless siya. Yung kamay niya gumagalaw sa blanket, parang may hinahanap. I asked if he was in pain. He didn't answer directly. He just whispered, too big. I called staff. They checked if it was safe. They helped. After that, he settled, but his eyes stayed open longer than usual. He looked at me like he was about to say something heavy. May pamilya ka? He asked. Opo, sagot ko, nandito sila sa city. He stared at the ceiling. Buti. I didn't know what to say to that. Buti. Like family is a simple blessing. Like it's just there, if you're lucky. I wanted to ask him if he wanted someone contacted. I wanted to ask if his daughter knew. But I wasn't sure if it was my role. I was told not to promise things I can't do, so I kept it honest. Tatay, sabi ko, kung may gusto po kayong ipasabi, I can tell the nurse so they can check what's possible. He turned his head slightly. Ayoko na ng gulo, he said. That line was sharp, not angry but firm. Parang matagal na niyang pinag-isipan. Ayoko na ng gulo. He wasn't avoiding love. He was avoiding chaos. So I didn't argue. I just said, naintindihan ko po. He exhaled. His shoulders softened. It was as if being understood was enough for that moment. Palliative care, from what I've observed, is about comfort. People think it's just waiting, but it's active. The night it happened, I was assigned to sit with Tatay Vic longer. He's declining. Someone told me, not in a scary way, but as information I needed. He may not have much time. I walked in and saw that his breathing changed. Irregular. I've read before that breathing patterns can change near the end. I had heard nurses talk about it. But seeing it in front of you is different. He was not fully alert, but was still awake. Hello po, I said. Nandito lang ako. He moved his right hand slightly. The movement was small but clear. I understood what he wanted before he said anything. But I waited. I didn't want to assume. Pwedeng. He started, voice thin, hawak. There are words that sound ordinary until they don't. Hawak. It became a request, a permission, and a truth all at once. Opo, I said, kung okay lang po sa inyo. I reached slowly and placed my hand over his. I didn't grip, I just rested there. His fingers were cold, and that was it. We sat like that. At first, I tried to keep my mind calm. I focused on my breathing. I wanted to be steady. I didn't want him to feel any panic coming from me. But inside, I felt something shift. Hindi na ako observer lang. I was involved. Anak ko, he whispered. Hindi ko siya nakita. Matagal na. I didn't jump in. I just said, Opo. Kasalanan ko rin, he said. I kept my hands steady. Tatay, gusto niyo po bang magkwento? Nag-away kami, he said. Hindi ko na inayos. Lagi kong sinasabi bukas, pag-uwi ko, pag okay na. Pero ang buhay, hindi nag-aantay. That sentence hit me. It's the kind of truth you don't argue with. Kung nandito siya, ano sasabihin ko? There was a part of me that wanted to say, sabihin niyo sorry. But I didn't want to put words in his mouth. So, I answered carefully. Siguro po, yung pinakatotoo, yung kaya niyo pong sabihin ngayon. He looked at me like he was checking if I was safe. Like he was checking if his truth would be received without judgment. Sabihin mo sa kanya. He started, then stopped. I leaned slightly. Ano po? Sabihin mo, hindi ko siya nakalimutan, he said. Kahit hindi ko alam paano bumalik. I felt my throat tighten but I didn't cry. I nodded. Opo. He continued. Sabihin mo, proud ako kahit wala akong alam sa buhay niya ngayon. Proud ako kasi anak ko siya. In that moment, he sounded like a father, not a dying patient. I thought about the daughter in the photo. I thought about how she might be living somewhere, doing ordinary things, not knowing that her father's last words were for her. The thought felt unbearable, but I held it quietly. Hindi ko karapatan magpanik. My job was to be present, not to create more noise. Tatay, I said, gusto niyo po bang isulat natin? Para kung sakali, I stopped myself before finishing the sentence. I didn't want to imply anything about time. I didn't want to push. I offered it as a simple option. Sulat? He asked. Opo, I said, kung gusto niyo, kahit ilang linya lang. Ako po magsusulat, kayo po magsabi. Then he nodded, very small. I reached for a notebook in the drawer. Then, I waited. He started with her name. Anak, he said, kung nababasa mo to. He paused often. His breath had to catch up with his thoughts. The letter was short, but every line had weight. He said sorry, but not in a dramatic way. He didn't justify, He didn't blame, he didn't list reasons. He said that he loved her, that he was proud, that he kept her photo, and that he regretted waiting too long. There was one line he insisted on, even when his voice was fading. Hindi mo kasalanan, he whispered. After that, he stopped, his eyes closed. His breathing changed again, slower, deeper pauses. For a while, there were no words. Anak. I didn't know if he meant his daughter or if he was calling me that. I just answered, Opo, tatay. He squeezed my hand. This time, I felt the intention. Not strong, but clear. Salamat, he said. I nodded. Walang anuman po. I wanted to say more. I wanted to say, you did your best. I wanted to say, she would understand. But I didn't know. I wasn't the judge of his life. I was just the witness. So, I stayed quiet. His breathing slowed further. The pauses got longer. There were moments when I thought, is this it? Then another breath would come. The last moments were not dramatic. There was no sudden jerk, no loud sound, just a long pause, then a smaller rise of the chest. His face looked peaceful, not because everything was solved, but because the struggle of breathing was easing. Then, quietly, there was a pause that didn't end. I pressed the call button. The nurse came in, she checked him, she looked at me again, and her face softened. She said something simple, professional, and gentle. I won't quote it exactly, but the meaning was clear. He was gone. I didn't let go of his hand immediately. Eventually, I loosened my hand and walked to the corner of the room. The staff did what they needed to do. I asked about the letter. I did not want it lost. I did not want it treated like a random paper. A nurse told me they would handle it appropriately. She asked if there was a contact person. I said I didn't know. I just wanted to make sure it stayed attached to his story. I got on the bus and sat by the window. People around me were scrolling, talking, laughing softly. Normal life. I didn't resent them. It just felt like I had stepped out of a different world. The next day, I went back. The room was different now. The bed was made differently. The photo was gone. The notebook was gone. That's how hospitals survive, I guess. They have to keep going. I asked staff if anyone came for him. There was mention of someone calling, but I didn't ask who it was. A few days after, I heard from one staff member that a woman came in asking for him. She came too late. She cried. She sat for a long time. She asked if he said anything. I don't know if she received the letter. I hope she did. I hope the line "Hindi mo kasalanan" reached her. I keep thinking about that daughter. I keep thinking about how many lives run parallel without meeting. How many apologies get delayed. How many people assume there will be time. I'm not making a moral lesson out of this. I'm not saying always call your parents. I don't know anyone's story. I don't know the reasons people step away. I only know what I saw in one man. What I learned is smaller and more personal. I learned that touch can be a whole sentence. Hawak can mean, I'm here. It can mean, you are not alone. It can mean, your life was seen by someone at the end. I learned that being a witness is not passive. It changes you. It makes you carry something. You don't get to leave the room as the same person. I also learned that the end of life is not always tidy. Sometimes there's love, but also distance. Sometimes there's regret, but also dignity. Sometimes there is no big reunion, but there is still a last act of care, even if it comes from a stranger. I keep thinking about the way he said, ayoko na ng bulok. It sounded like a man protecting what little peace he had left. It sounded like someone who had lived with noise and conflict for too long. And yet, he still wanted this daughter to know. He still wanted to give her something clean. Hindi mo kasalanan. No blame. No demands. That part stays with me the most. Not the death itself, but the final parenting in that line. The choice to remove weight from someone else's shoulders. Since then, I've been more careful with my own words. When I say bukas, I hear his voice saying, pero ang buhay hindi nag-aantay. When I delay a message because I'm tired or busy, I see the dim lamp and the photo and the notebook. I don't mean that in a preachy way. It's just what my brain does now. It connects ordinary moments to that room. Sometimes I wonder if I did enough. Did I hold his hand the right way? Did I say the right things? Did I miss any sign he needed something? But then I remember, he asked for hawak, and I gave it. He asked for sulat, and we did it. He said, salamat. Maybe that is the only measure I'm allowed. There is another part I don't say out loud often, because it sounds selfish. Holding his hand also made me feel less afraid of my own future, in a strange way. Not because death became easy, it didn't. But because I saw that a person can be met with gentleness even when the story is incomplete, even when there are loose ends, even when the world doesn't stop. It showed me that comfort is real. Not fake comfort. Not everything happens for a reason, just actual comfort. That's it. And still, it feels like a whole chapter of my life. I'm sharing this because I don't know how people process these things. I don't want to dump it on my family in full detail. I also don't want to pretend it didn't happen. Because it did, and it mattered. So I'm putting it here where strangers might understand without needing to fix it. If you've been with someone at the end, whether family or stranger, how did you carry it after? No need for big answers. Even small ones are okay. Salamat sa pagbabasa. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to come back tomorrow for more stories. Once again, I'm Lechon, and I'll see you next time.